Hi, this is Haas from GNAT News, and today we're in the wonderful Bennington Museum in Bennington, Vermont, and we're going to be talking to...
Hi, I'm Callie Raspusi. I'm the collections manager here at the Bennington Museum.
And she has a terrific serendipitous discovery that she's going to reveal to us. So let's go find her. So this is the new gallery at the Bennington Museum?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, this is our new early Vermont gallery. When Vermont was settled in the 1760s by European settlers, there was not a lot going on here, but barely 50 years later, by the early 1800s, it's a booming, very sophisticated area.
All the portraits that I'm seeing are, what do they represent?
These are some of the early founders of Vermont, some of the early political leaders, the early industrial leaders, and some of the people who are really making Vermont into the place that it is now.
And the beautiful furniture?
The furniture is representative of some of the best of American furniture in this era. We don't necessarily think of Vermont, especially in the early days, as being particularly sophisticated.
That's true.
But it really is. There are some of the best furniture makers who are living and working here at the time. You have something like the painted chests that are lovely, but you also have wonderful woodworkers who are making like this bow front chest up here. We have people who are making musical clocks, which are the height of sophistication in the early 1800s.
This room sort of represents Vermont beginning to make a name for it amongst the states.
Yes, yes it does.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right, so somewhere in this room is a very cool thing.
Yes, there are many very cool things, but there's one particular thing that I'm going to show you.
Let's go see it.
And here is what I'm going to show you. This is a watercolor portrait that we've recently acquired of Lieutenant Jonathan Holton, and this is its corresponding tintype. And I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about Holton and the Revolutionary War and the Battle of Bennington, which is why he is important to us. Cool. So, 1777, the summer of 77, the British troops are coming down from Canada and they are trying to cut off New England from the rest of the colonies. At this point, Vermont is a newly formed republic and they are trying to get help from New Hampshire, from New York, from anywhere they can to stop these British troops.
We're not winning, in other words.
We're not doing well. Ticonderoga ends up falling. Lieutenant Holton is there for the Battle of Ticonderoga. He comes back right before the Battle of Bennington in August. John Stark is called up by the New Hampshire militia. He raises some troops and comes over the Green Mountains, and Lieutenant Holton comes with him. And during the battle itself, Holton is wounded. A musket ball enters his right cheek, nearly tears off his upper lip. At the same time, buckshot enters his other cheek and lodges near his eye. And you can see the scar here in his portrait. And this was done many, many years later. He died in 1821, and this was probably done shortly before his death. He's obviously a very old man at this point. But he still has these scars. And we know the details of his wound because this was very well known in his hometown. And a history published many years later of Cheshire County in New Hampshire actually gives the details of how he was wounded during the battle.
So Callie, what is the relationship? Like, what's a tintype and why is there a portrait? What is all that?
Tintypes are a very early form of photography. Photography is invented in 1838 with the daguerreotype. A tintype is a slightly less expensive version that comes around in the 1850s. They're very popular in the 1860s, 1870s. One of the great things that became an option when you had photography was that you could take a painted portrait and you could make copies of it. And every member of the family can have one and can take a picture of the patriarch with them as they move across the country.
How do you make a tintype? Do you know that?
It's a sheet of metal, usually iron, that is plated with an emulsion, and that emulsion is put in the camera and exposed for a certain length of time, and creates this mirror image of the thing that you're photographing or the person that you're photographing, which is why the tintype is an exact reversed image of the original.
When you look at these, could we say these have been separated now for what, over 150 years?
Probably about that, yes.
And now they're back together?
Now they are.
Fascinating.
Yes.
How did you bring the twins back together again? How did that happen?
Really interesting story, actually. So we have had the tintype in our collection since 1976. It was given to us by one of Holton's descendants, and it has his history written on the back of it. It tells that he was in the Battle of Bennington, he was wounded, it gives his dates. which is wonderful information to have. We have a lot of things in our collection related to the Battle of Bennington, so this is important. And at one point, our curator is friends with a collector of American folk art, and his particular interest is in early photographs of early American folk art. And so our curator, Jamie Franklin, shared this photograph on Facebook with this man, David Schorsch, this collector. And Schorsch looked at it and said, wait a second, I've seen this before, and pointed out this picture, which was on eBay at the time.
It's on eBay,
It was on eBay, of all things.
Gotcha.
But on eBay, the person who was selling it did not know the identity and didn't know the story of the scar. So the advertisement on eBay said that, maybe he had a hair lip, maybe this was a wound, we didn't really know, and had no idea who he was. So
that's amazing.
Knowing who he is, it's an incredibly important object for our collection. And the collector, David Schorsch, was actually willing to give us money to help purchase it. Members of our collections committee chipped in and also gave us funds, so we were able to buy the portrait and reunite the portrait with the tintype and reunite this man with his story too, which is just a wonderful thing.
And for you out there, come down to the museum, check it out. It has an immense display of really cool things. So Bennington Museum, be there. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.